Testing for YouTube. Testing one, two, three.
Welcome, everyone. We will call to order our regular meeting of council. And although it's on a strange day, meeting everyone here on a Wednesday, but happy to be here. Before we start, I'd like to recognize and acknowledge that we work, live, and play in the city of Port Alberni, which is situated on the unceded territories of the Sechot and Huipachesset First Nations. Before we go into our agenda and approval, I, on behalf of council, just want to take a moment to recognize Councillor Cindy Solda. Turn on your microphone so that we can see you. Councillor Cindy Solda was recognized at the Union of British Columbia Municipalities Conference last week with a long service award. Hold on to this, Cindy. With a long service award for her 21 years acting as a city councillor for the city of Port Alberni. This is a huge award and achievement, and important to recognize also that we should recognize Director Penny Cote from the Regional District for also receiving the award. I just want to say personally, on behalf of council, that it's been just an honor to work with Cindy for all of these years that I've had the privilege of working with her. And I think the city of Port Alberni has been extremely fortunate to have Councillor Solda, don't wreck that award, Cindy, but to have Councillor Solda representing her representing the city in such a dedicated way for so long. So council has gotten these flowers to go along with the award. We're very proud of you, Cindy, and just really appreciate all of the work that you've done to represent the city and speak up for the residents of our community. So thank you.
And we're doing a picture thing.
And we'll stand for a picture.
Okay.
I'm just going to interrupt and say a few words about Cindy as well. She brings a lot of historical knowledge to a lot of subjects to council, and we really appreciate that knowledge. And as I got to know Cindy better, she has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever seen. And I want to thank you for being so compassionate, not only to me, but to everybody in the community. And thank you so much. It's been just such a pleasure to get to know you and call you my friend.
Yes, thank you so much, Deb. Yeah, and congratulations, Cindy. Thank you. We're all very thrilled for you to have gotten that award. All right, council, we do have an agenda in front of us. Are there any late items councillors would like to add today? Seeing none, any late items from our corporate officer?
No late items, Madam Mayor.
Wonderful. Then would somebody like to move approval of our agenda as presented? Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. We do have minutes from the special meeting and regular meeting held on September 8th, 2025 to be presented as adopted. Move to adopt by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Haggard. Any comments on the minutes? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried, none opposed. No delegations or unfinished business today, so on to staff reports. And we have item number 1, Building Bylaw 5077, 2023, a verbal report from our Director of Development Services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. So based on a bit of an update, I did check with our staff, and the city has not received any applications to move a house or structure into the city as of at any point in time this year. As I indicated previously, we do get the odd inquiry. We are only receiving about maybe 1 or 2 every 3 or 4 months, so there's not a lot of inquiries coming our way. I did take the opportunity to do a quick review of some of our neighboring communities' building bylaws and how they relate to moving structures. Qualicum Beach, Ladysmith, and Courtney have very similar language to the City of Port Alberni's building bylaw in that they require structures to substantially comply with today's building code, although they actually have additional requirements to what the city has. Like City of Courtenay has structures cannot be more than 15 years old. Parksville actually prohibits moving structures from outside the city into the city. The city of Nanaimo and the ACRD, their bylaws indicate it shall meet code. So it doesn't say substantially comply, it says it shall meet the building code. And the regional district of Nanaimo is the one outlier that had slightly different language in that they require a registered professional to certify that the structure is safe for its intended use. So that's a bit more of a tricky language to potentially administer, I would say. But they also have additional requirements. For instance, they require an assessed value appraisal to be done before a building could be relocated into the city. So in that quick review, staff's opinion that our building bylaw actually is the simplest language and is consistent or more open than other building bylaws in our neighboring communities. So that's just a bit of a verbal update on what I've been able to find, and I'd be pleased to try and answer any questions.
Thank you so much. That's very helpful. Scott, are you able to confirm, because I heard you say has to substantially meet code, but I understood at the last meeting that when we discussed this, that it was meet the code of the day versus
Yes.
current code. So I thought I just heard you say current code.
Well, no, it does require today's building code. So it must substantially comply with today's building code, and other municipalities have the same one, because the code of the day could, that would be very different depending on the age of the structures. But in other municipalities, it says it must meet the code.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you so much for the report, or sorry, for the verbal report and providing the bylaw. I don't think that we need any motion to receive. It's already one of our bylaws if there's no direction for changes. So we'll move on to item F1, permissive tax exemption bylaw 5090-2, 2025.
Good afternoon, Council. So in front of you do have the bylaw for the permissive tax year 2026. So Council does have the ability to support organizations within the community for permissive taxation. However, there is no obligation for Council to grant exemptions. The bylaw today contains previously approved applicants for the term January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2027. We did have one new application from Port-au-Clair's Dramatic Society for consideration over the remaining 2 years of the bylaw. There have been some other amendments to this bylaw as well to update tax folios for organizational changes that need to be updated for permissive tax purposes. The estimates of the total exemption for the 2026 taxation year is $446,000, or 1% of total municipal property taxation. The parameters established by the permissive taxation policy are 1.15% of property taxation. So we did use BC assessment values from 2025, as well as an estimated increase in taxation of 9% to calculate the estimate in costs. So if Council wishes to provide any alternate direction to the 3 readings provided, they should consider that this bylaw has to be adopted by October 31st in each year following public notice period. Council has supported the policy since 2019 with confirmation to extend it to the current policy in 2023. Should there be any desire to make any changes for 2027, Council should endeavor to do so early in 2026. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Thank you very much for the report. Are there questions from Council? Councillor Haggard.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be a little bit off topic, if I am just say so. In the question of Gaga Square, it receives 100% tax exemption. And I know they have an agreement with the city. Does the CEO happen to know how many more years that tax exemption for Gaga Square lasts? Because it seems like she's probably benefited a lot from this agreement, because that little piece of property probably isn't worth a lot of money, and she's got tax exemptions for several years now. And
Madam Mayor, so the application is received on a term, so it's a 4-year bylaw term. So each year that particular applicant has applied, and they do meet the criteria for permissive taxation, so they do get added to the bylaw when they do apply and they're approved.
Other comments or questions? Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
That being said, though, council does have the ability to make any changes to progressive taxation on the bylaw. So if you would like to make any changes, you're happy to do so.
I think, and the reason I'm concerned a bit about this one is, well, I really appreciate the effort and the work that the owner has put into the property and the park. We have had some complaints about people camping there overnight, and there's nothing that city can do because it is private property. And am I not correct on that, CEO?
Thank you for the question. Through a separate agreement, besides the progressive tax exemption bylaw, we do have an agreement that sets out the parameters on what the city does for the Giga Square and what the owner will do. Currently, you are correct, and that is in the agreement. However, we are under conversations with the owner currently, and if there is changes to the agreement or requests for us to do more on that piece of land, then we would bring a report to council.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Mealy, would you like to read the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that permissive tax exemption bylaw amendment number 2, bylaw number 5090-2, 2025, be now introduced and read a first time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that permissive tax exemption bylaw amendment number 2, bylaw number 5090-2, 2025, be read a second time.
Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that permissive tax exemption bylaw amendment number 2, bylaw number 5090-2, 2025, be read a third time.
Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Any comments? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thank you. We'll move on to G, correspondence for action, and item number 1 is from Alberni Valley Transition Town. Recommendations from our Committee of the Whole meeting. Councillor Dame, would you like to read this one?
Certainly. I move that council provide a letter of support to the Alberni Valley Transition Town Society in their campaign for more frequent and affordable intercity bus service to Nanaimo.
Moved by Councillor Dame, seconded by Councillor Haggard. Discussion? Okay. Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And item number 2 from the Royal Canadian Legion, Remembrance Day Poppy Campaign and Flag Raising. And this is just a letter dated September 16, 2025, from the Royal Canadian Legion requesting to raise the poppy flag at City Hall on November 3rd. And I think we're already in discussion about setting that up. Yeah, just want to thank the Legion for all the work that they do in organizing the campaign ahead. It is certainly a lot of work, and the Remembrance Day celebrations or recognitions as well. And they just do such a wonderful, meaningful job every year. Councillor Dame, would you like to read this one?
Certainly, Madam Mayor. I move that council authorize raising of the poppy flag at City Hall on November 3rd, 2025 in support of the Royal Canadian Legion 2025 Remembrance Day Poppy Campaign.
Moved by Councillor Dame, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Discussion? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And on to proclamations. Item number 1 from the Ministry of Children and Family Development. An email requesting the month of October be proclaimed as Foster Family Month in Port Alberni. Councillor Haggard, would you read this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move that council, on behalf of the Ministry of Children and Family Development, proclaim October 2025 as Foster Family Month in Port Alberni.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Haggard, seconded by Councillor Solda. Any discussion? Seeing none on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And on to correspondence for information. I will go to our corporate officer to provide an overview.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 3 pieces of correspondence as follows. 1 letter from the District of West Vancouver, which is a copy of the letter regarding provincial housing directives. a letter from the Ombudsperson of British Columbia providing their quarter report from April 1st to June 30th, and a letter from the Vancouver Island Regional Library regarding a change in operating hours.
Thank you. Any items councillors would like to speak to? Seeing none, would somebody like to move receipt? Moved by councillor Mealy, seconded by councillor Dame. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And on to report from in camera, and I'll go to our corporate officer to read these over.
Item number 1, that council release for public consumption notice of entry into a fire protection agreement between the City of Port Alberni and Fraserview Cedar Products Limited for a 1-year term. Number 2, that council release for public consumption direction to prepare a letter of thanks to C. Schultz for his service on the Alberni Valley Heritage Commission, and further, that staff proceed with advertising the vacancy. Number 3, that council release for public consumption the execution of an interim Beaver Creek bulk water supply agreement between the City of Port Alberni and the Alberni-Claycott Regional District. Number 4, that council release for public consumption amendment of the City of Port Alberni 2025-2029 financial plan bylaw number 5123-2025 by allocating $140,000 towards the Highway number 4 roundabout project for costs associated with utilities and surveying requirements with funding from the Water Infrastructure and Sewer Infrastructure Reserve in the amount of $70,200 each in 2025. Number 5, that council release for public consumption execution of the Highway 4 and Beaver Creek Road Intersection Improvement Project Agreement between the Ministry of Transportation and Transit and the City of Port Alberni. And number 6, that council release for public consumption execution of the License of Occupation Agreement between the Ministry of Transportation and Transit and the City of Port Alberni to permit construction access to the licensed area, legally described as Lot 1, District Lot 11, Alberni District Plan 24655, to complete the Highway 4 and Beaver Creek Road Intersection Improvement Project.
Thank you very much. And we'll move on to item K, which is council reports. Are there any items from reports councillors would like to highlight? I'll go to councillor Dame.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just really quickly, as a liaison to the Alberni Valley Transition Town Society, I've been asked to share an update regarding their wildfire forum. The event has been postponed to allow more time to secure the participation of the relevant authorities, agencies, and experts. And the AVTTS has emphasized that given the seriousness of recent wildfire events and the risks facing our valley, they want this forum to be as productive and worthwhile as possible. So a new date will be announced once those arrangements are finalized. And I do see that Mike Udes, representing Transition Town, is in the audience if anybody had any questions.
Thank you very much. Other items councillors would like to speak to? Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For those in the public who are not aware, councillors and staff attended the Union of BC Municipalities Conference last week in Victoria. It was a very busy week and a very productive week. We had some great meetings with ministers and ministry staff, and I'll be submitting a more detailed report for the next council meeting on the activities I participated in.
Thank you, and thanks for noting that. I'm going to work with Bree as well to submit a report on the meetings. Aside from the sessions that councillors were fortunate to attend, many of which were extremely valuable, our city did have 21 meetings with ministers and ministry staff. So I think that's a record for us, although we always have a lot. It was felt like quite a high amount. Every single one of them extremely productive. So a lot of, I think, really good pieces to bring back and a lot of really good progress made. I know that we're getting follow-up from different ministers already on scheduling follow-up meetings and next steps for some of the initiatives we brought forward. So really want to thank our staff for all of their work in preparing for those meetings. We certainly don't just walk into them. There's a large coordinated effort that goes into making sure those meetings are as productive as possible in the short time that comes with them. So a really great job to everyone who was able to attend UBCM, and to the councillors also who stayed behind and represented the city at many events in the absence of everyone else. So so really great job to people who were there and were not there, but we'll be submitting more information for our next meeting of council as well. Okay. Not seeing any other information for council reports. Would somebody like to move receipt? Moved by councillor Mealy, seconded by councillor Dame. On the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. We'll move on to new business. Item number 1, park improvements. And this is a recommendation from the September 15th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting. Councillor Solda, would you like to read this?
Madam Mayor, I move that the council direct staff to assess the costs and feasibility of making minor improvements to the park area at 2549 10th Avenue, 3627 16th Avenue, and 6038 River Road prior to the completion of the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Master Plan.
Thank you, and I will second that. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And item number 2 on this new business, we've got 2026 to 2030 draft financial plan facilities operations amendments, and this is a recommendation from the Committee of the Whole meeting on September 15th as well. Councillor Patola, would you like to read this one?
That council released for public, no? L2, sorry, J, I was on J2. The council amend the draft 2026-2030 financial plan to reflect the following items I through XVIII as set out therein.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Patola. Seconded by Councillor Solda. Any discussion? Recognizing that we did have quite a bit of discussion at the Committee of the Whole as well. Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for the people at home, you can go to the September 15th staff report on page 36, and it has the explanation and the whole report for this. So just for the people at home.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing no other comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And item number 3, we have the 2026 to 2030 draft financial plan facilities capital amendments, and this as well as a recommendation from the September 15th Committee of the Whole meeting. Councillor Verbrugge, would you like to read this one?
That council amend the draft 2026-2030 financial plan to reflect the following from I to VII. I'm not sure if there's another.
Thank you.
Yep, that's it.
That's great. Moved by Councillor Verbrugge, seconded by Councillor Mealy. Any discussion on this piece? Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I appreciate doing it really quickly, but just for the people at home, September 15th staff report on page 40, and that agenda is also online for the explanation.
Absolutely. Okay. Seeing no other comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And item number 4, 2026 to 2030 draft financial plan multiplex chiller upgrades and dehumidifier installation. Councillor Mealy, would you like to read this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And again, this is on a September 15th, 2025 staff report, page 44 for everybody at home. So I move that council amend the draft 2026-2030 financial plan to reflect the following. 1, dehumidifier replacement increase from $899,000 to $1,639,921. 2, chiller purchase and upgrade for $365,800. And further that council provide early approval to proceed with the multiplex chiller upgrades and dehumidifier installation. Would you like me to
Thank you. Is
finish
there a
there? Thank you.
seconder? Seconded by Councillor Haggard. Any discussion on this piece? And we do have our manager of facilities here if there's further questions. Okay. And again, recognizing that this was discussed at the Committee of the Whole, so likely why council doesn't have any additional questions today. Seeing no comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed, and Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that council direct administration to seek federal FCM Green Municipal Fund grants and loans to lower the project cost for the installation of the dehumidifier and energy recovery system and chiller upgrades, with work to be completed during the 2026 multiplex off-season.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Haggard. Any comments? Councillor Mealy.
I just want to make sure, I think I had this question at the September 15th meeting, but we're not just going to limit ourselves to just the FCM. If there's any other money out there, obviously our staff's going to look for it. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And they've just noted this one specifically because they've already recognized that it is an opportunity where there's a fit. So this will be the first one that's applied for. Thank you. Seeing no other comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thank you. And then noting here that there is a new request. Councillor Mealy, would you like to read this one as well?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. Move that council authorize submission of 3 letters required as part of the federal FCM Green Municipal Fund grant application as attached, and outlining the following: council resolution, confirmed source of funding, approval for consultation with the provincial government.
Thank you. Moved by Counselor Mealy, seconded by Counselor Solda. Any discussion or questions on this piece? Just to support the grant application. Okay, seeing none. On the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thank you for that. Item number 5, we have another recommendation from a September 15th Committee of the Whole meeting. We have 2026 to 2030 Draft Financial Plan and Wildfire Equipment. Counselor Dane, would you like to read this one?
I move the council amend the draft 2026 to 2030 financial plan to reflect the following. I, capital plan, 2026 fire department wildfire equipment, increase $15,000. And II, general fund, increase general capital from taxation, $15,000.
Thank you. Moved by Counselor Dame, seconded by Counselor Mealy. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And item number 6, we have the Bar Watch Program Policy 3008-4, recommendation from the September 15th Committee of the Whole meeting. Counselor Haggard, do you read this one?
I'd like to move that council approve Bar Watch Program Policy 3008-4.
Moved by Counselor Haggard, seconded by Counselor Solda. Any discussion? Seeing none, on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. And item number 7, we have a short-term rentals background report, and this is a report from our Manager of Planning.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. At the April 22nd Council meeting, Council directed staff to bring forward an overview of short-term rentals in Port Alberni. The full staff report summarizes the new Short-Term Rentals Accommodations Act, as well as the city's current short-term rentals regulations. I'll keep my presentation brief, but the key takeaway is that the city's regulations for licensing short-term rentals is generally aligned with the new legislation. We were already fairly restrictive here for what was allowed for short-term rentals, but we could update the zoning bylaw and the business licensing bylaw to be closer in line with that legislation, and this would add a lot of clarity for city staff and operators. Essentially, we would match the terms and definitions of the provincial legislation in our own bylaws. That would help out staff and operators who are regulating short-term rentals and those who are looking to register them with the province. It would be much more efficient and effective. So council's options are to direct staff to bring forward bylaw updates to zoning and business licensing, or to direct administration to continue with the current short-term rentals program, or to direct administration to undertake additional review. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Counselor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I keep in touch with a group of doctors on a regular basis about the issues that they're having with recruitment and retention efforts for people coming into Port Alberni. And this is one of the items that have been identified. Because of the 90-day stay length, it's really hard for medical personnel coming into the community, such as locums, or if you're doing a 6-month practicum, for example, to find accommodations because of the 90-day stay length policy. Is there any way that we could say, exempt medical personnel? They've asked me about to bring that forward. Or is there a way that we can get around the 90 days? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Nope, through Madam Mayor to Council. There is no way to get around the 90 days. We could come back with more information on that. You know, there might be ways that I'm not aware of where cities could define a shorter stay length. It may be possible. The default is 90 days from the province. Now that I think about it, I think council could adopt a shorter stay length, but I would have to confirm that for you. Ultimately, the reliance on short-term rental market for professional housing is a result of the lack of housing in the market overall, and we just need to build more housing and make housing available for those professionals, and that's an avenue for council as well.
Yeah. I'm not talking about like long-term housing. I'm talking about medical professionals that are coming here as locums for short-term stays. Or if I'm coming to Port Alberni to do a locum for 6 months, or to do a practicum for 6 months, it's really hard to find housing to begin with. And if they're trying to go to a short-term stay, the maximum is 90 days. So then what do they do after the 90 days? So they've asked me if there's any way we can somehow exempt medical personnel, or maybe that's something we could bring up with the Minister of Housing. Maybe we can advocate for this issue and that avenue. So it's not to try and take away from long-term housing, absolutely not. They want to just be able to extend their stays if they have to. Sorry, I probably didn't explain myself
Could we
very
get a
well.
better understanding of the 90-day issue? Because it's a piece I'm not fully getting, maybe. Isn't the intent for people to stay longer rather than shorter?
Madam Mayor, yeah, that is, the intent of the legislation is to limit short-term rental stays to 90 days, but I would have to double check and confirm if councils can define a shorter term. I think they may actually be able to.
But I think the question is, from Councillor Haggard, is if we can define a longer maximum.
Just for medical personnel, when they're coming here doing
But I would
locums.
say, and sorry, Councillor Haggard to interrupt, I would say not just for medical personnel, but so is it just that it doesn't fall under that policy? Or is that maybe an Airbnb issue that limits you to 90 days? And if we need to bring it back more information, happy to request that.
Madam Mayor, anything beyond 90 days is just considered a rental. It's not subject to SDR legislation.
So it may be just that the platform that they're booking on doesn't let them go beyond 90 days. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Other questions or comments? Okay, Councillor Dame.
Thank you. Yeah, reading through the legislation, I thought it all made sense and did provide an improvement on clarity. I did note that we might want to consider a shorter period of time, which I thought would also help the, if there were any medical professionals who wanted to come and stay, say for, a month. Because as of now, anything below 90 days is considered a short-term rental, and there's limitations there. So I thought, I noticed that a lot of communities do say 30 days or 35 days. And I thought that there might be situations that would arise where being able to say, well, I'm just here for a month, is that considered a long-term rental? And thus doesn't require the business license in the same way. So that was the only thing I thought we might consider differently. Other than that, I would absolutely just support it as aligning with the BC legislation.
Yeah, thank you. I guess my question would be, so the group of Airbnb or short-term rental hosts who spoke at council, their concern was that we currently did not offer business licenses for Airbnbs. So we do offer obviously business licenses for B&Bs, with some slight variations. Do we need to make updates in order to, was that a misunderstanding, or do we need to make updates in order to enable the people who are doing it? And not to say we shouldn't make updates. I think it makes sense too, based on what you've laid out here. But I'm just wondering, I'm wanting to make sure that that we are covered, because I know there was the Airbnb change that disabled people from being able to use their platform without a business license.
So, Madam Mayor, we are currently issuing business licenses for short-term rentals in Port Alberni. They all fall under the bed and breakfast definition in the zoning bylaw.
Thank you. That's great. Okay, Councillor Patola? Wonderful. Okay, then Councillor Patola, would you like to read the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that council direct administration to prepare bylaw updates to match BC short-term rental legislation and to provide clarity on the city's regulations.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Patola, seconded by Councillor Dame. Any discussion? Seeing none, on the motion, all in favor. Any opposed? Motion carried, none opposed. Thank you. And thanks for that report. Item number 8, we have write-off for uncollectible receivables.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. So the report in front of you requests council authorization to administrate a order to the Ministry of Housing Municipal Affairs. The request, we're requesting authority to write off the uncollectible property taxes in the amount of $56,334. Most tax accounts are collected under the tax sale process. There are only a few scenarios which tax sale does not apply to. That would be property that has been destroyed, mobile homes that have been moved, and property tax owing on Crown land that is held under lease or license. We do have a few of those that are deemed uncollectible, and we are carrying a balance on. And they relate to leased property owned by the Port Alberni Port Authority, and that can be seen in Appendix A. So the community charter does not allow us to use the tax sale process as a recovery mechanism for property taxes owed on Crown land that is under lease. When Crown land is leased for commercial use, the property is considered taxable only to the leasee. However, if they terminate and they do not pay the taxes in full at that time and land reverts back to the Port Authority, it is deemed uncollectible under our current tax scheme. So the uncollectible accounts related to these lease agreements do create a risk to the collection process here in Alberta. When accounts do become uncollectible, we don't receive the revenue, and the city does pay the taxes owed to organizations such as BC Assessment, Municipal Finance Authority, and other provincial collections. There's no other options that exist for collection for municipalities. The only option we do have is to request authority to write off local government financial assets by resolution. So a resolution is provided directing staff to request the Ministry of Housing and Municipal Affairs to order a write-off of the outstanding taxes, penalties, and interest associated with the accounts. To prevent this from going forward, we have been in contact with the Port Alberni Port Authority as well as BC Assessment to improve the collection processes. We also have provided council today with a uncollectible account policy. It just promotes good financial governance and also allows transparency for council to understand the collection process and gives our staff in all different departments the ability to see the process as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the report. Before I go to questions from council, given that these are all former tenants of the Port Authority, do we have any insight through our conversations into whether the Port Authority collected their lease payments through these tenants?
Thanks for the question. My understanding is it's when the leasee is canceling their lease. Sometimes the Port Authority accepts some of the leases in backdated. Also, sometimes BC Assessment isn't made aware of them immediately. We did have a conversation with the Port Authority to make sure that we're made aware, and BC Assessment is aware immediately, so we can not have these charges. And we also had a good meeting at UBCM talking with BC Assessment about how can we correct this, as the city should not be responsible, the taxpayers of the city should not be responsible for leases that end up being canceled in no fault of the city or the residents.
Thank you. And because these businesses do result in a cost to taxpayers as a result of us having to pay, school taxes and other taxes to other agencies based on these amounts that we are not receiving, I really hope that the Port Authority is not collecting their lease payments and receiving that money while for tenants that they brought in who did not pay their taxes, while we are then asking the residents of Port Alberni to pay the taxes for those businesses effectively by writing them off when we've budgeted for these amounts and we are paying other amounts. I know that, this is an ongoing issue that staff are monitoring, but I think that as we do have a Port Authority that I would say works slightly, outside of the mandate of some Port Authorities in bringing in businesses not necessarily to do with shipping and the mandate of a Port Authority. I think it's extremely important that where there's going to be cost to city taxpayers, there should be a shared financial burden with the Port Authority where they are financially benefiting from these leases. So I know that we have regular and ongoing conversations with the port. I also know that, through, these three names, two of them certainly are well known to members of the public and have, been businesses that caused stress in the community in their own ways. I know that the stress that they caused cause stress for the Port Authority as well. But I would assume that the Port Authority also collected some revenue where we have not been able to in some cases. So I hope that our conversations with the Port Authority are pushing them to clear the tax balances wherever possible. I think that where the Port Authority is collecting revenue, we should not be then putting cost on our taxpayers. So I'm just noting that for any future situations that may come up. I would hope that the Port Authority would be looking to pay the taxes of these businesses where they have collected lease revenues. Are there other comments from members of council? Okay, Councillor Mealy, would you like to read this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that council authorize administration to prepare an order to the Minister of Housing and Municipal Affairs pursuant to Section 781 of the Local Government Act, requesting authority to write off uncollectible property taxes in the amount of $56,334.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no additional comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed, and Councillor Mealy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that council approve policy number 3009-8, write-off for uncollectible receivables.
Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. Seeing no additional comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thank you. And on to item 9, we have a report from our Director of Infrastructure Services on lagoon update requirements.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good afternoon, Council. I'm here today to seek Council approval to allocate $425,000 towards upgrades at the lagoon treatment facility for flow monitoring equipment as well as control systems, as well as amending the 2025-2029 financial plan accordingly. The background behind this request is that our effluent flow monitoring equipment has not worked correctly since commissioning. We've had erratic performance from it and sporadic data, creating some reporting and regulatory issues. I do want to stress that this does not impact treatment efficacy of the plant. Everything is still treating as good. We're just not measuring the flow correctly or accurately, I should say. Further to that, the control system that was installed utilizes some components and technology that has become outdated and has been difficult to find replacement parts for, and this has limited automation as well as remote access ability to the plant. So both of these upgrades will restore full functionality and compliance on both of those fronts. So the recommended financial actions for this request are to add a project to the 2025 capital plan and to allocate $425,000 from the Sewer Infrastructure Reserve Fund. Of note, you will see there that there is an additional action potentially transferring $425,000 from the Water Reserve Fund if needed. And this is due to the allocation that Council has already approved for 2026 for both the Josephine Force Main replacement as well as the Argyle First to Third project. We have applied for a UBCM grant through the SPF, which we're hoping will be very successful on, which will provide relief on that front, as well as for the Josephine Force Main replacement. The current budget allocation has contingency built into it within expected design and construction contingency requirements. So our hope is that that project will come in under budget, and therefore there'll be no requirement to transfer from water to sewer. Other alternatives Council may want to consider is utilizing gas tax or growing communities grant reserve fund if they so desire to do so. In summary, if this project is approved, and this will resolve compliance issues as well as restore full automated functionality to the plant and improve operational reliability and safety. And I'm happy to answer any questions Council may have.
Thank you. And I'll just start by noting that we did advocate for that Strategic Priorities Initiative Fund grant application to several ministries while we were at UBCM, just highlighting the importance of the project to our community. And I will go to councillors for questions. And I just want to note that I think we had a member of the public submit some questions for this to a member of council. And I think some of those were great questions. So if any of them are relevant for today, even if we can't get necessarily full answers for them today, I'd love to give Councillor Mealy the opportunity to ask them.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I had some questions myself, so they'll probably be overlapping anyway. So, but through you to staff, Mr. McDonald. So this time last year, the province said that we were not in compliance, and that was an administrative, if I remember correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So is this related to that issue that we were dealing with this time last year, January 1st?
Through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Mealy. Yes, regarding administrative issues within our operating certificate, there's a number of report requirements and regulatory requirements, whereas we report data. And because the flow meter was not functioning correctly, we did not have complete data in order to meet those requirements. Stressing again, this deficiency did not cause any harm to the environment, nor did it affect the treatment capacity of the plant.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that answer. And and I guess the main one that I had is if the effluent flow monitoring equipment was not functioning correctly since commissioning, is there a warranty? Did we go after the manufacturer at the time? What measures were taken, if I may be so bold to ask?
Through the chair, and thank you for the question again, Councillor Mealy. The plant was commissioned in late 2022. We are now currently 2025, so therefore we're past and beyond the warranty period. We have worked through multiple different contractors to come take a look at our equipment, and although legally I can't comment too much on the approach we've taken with both the consultant and the contractor that were involved in the project, we're at a state now where we just need to move forward and to get these things rectified and to get them corrected.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much through you to Mr. McDonald. So, but just to clarify that even though it has been working properly, there is no harm to the environment. You've been able to get along without it and still be able to protect the environment properly as per the regulations.
Through the chair, yes. Thank you for that question, Councillor Mealy. And again, I will stress this measures the flow. The other components regarding the control systems are just we've basically been doing a lot of stuff manually where we've not been able to automate the process just due to the control system. Both of these upgrades will restore full functionality but do not affect the treatment capacity of the plant.
And just to everyone in public, of course, they can reach out to council and staff if they have any additional questions, but especially staff, obviously. Council is not the foremost on the knowledge of the sewer system, but staff definitely is, and I appreciate the answers, Mr. McDonald. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think I just want to confirm, based on some of the answers that were just provided, that the discussion today is really about the need to move forward with this project because it's an important fix regardless of who ultimately ends up paying for it, but recognizing that I think I'm hearing there are potentially other steps going on in the background that council can inquire about. Thank you. Other questions? Councillor Dame.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought now might be a good time to just clarify because I've seen, because of this being on the agenda, there's been a bit of discussion in the community, and one thing that has come up a few times is I think there's some confusion over when this issue arose approximately a year ago on whether or not a fine was paid by the city or not, and I think that we should just publicly state what exactly happened there.
Through the chair, thank you for the question, Councillor Dame. There was quite a bit of misinformation that arose from our annual inspection back in January from the Ministry of Environment. Basically, what happened at the front end of the report, there's some boilerplate information regarding, the legality of the inspection and ensuring that we work towards rectifying any deficiencies. And if you don't work towards that, you can ultimately work up towards $1 million fine. We were not in that state. We were issued warnings. Here are the deficiencies that were identified, and we are working towards clearing those up as we speak. So there never was any fine, nor was there a threat of one.
Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate that. I think that it's. I think council knew that, but I think it's so important, just as a reminder to the public, that when you hear things like that, these bold claims, make sure you get the information before you go and discuss it online, because these things spread rapidly, and there was no fine paid, so we need to sort of stop saying that.
Yeah, no fine issued or paid. Thank you. Issued or paid, no fine issued. We got a fine, we just didn't pay it. No, that did not happen. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Councillor Soldo, would you like to read this motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that council amend the City of Port Alberni 2025-2029 Financial Plan Bylaw Number 5123 2025 as follows. 1, add capital plan 2025 lagoon flow monitoring and control systems upgrades, $425,000. 2, add sewer infrastructure reserve fund allocation for project, $425,000. 3, transfer water infrastructure reserve fund, $425,000 to sewer infrastructure reserve fund if required, and return the funds in 2028 with interest forgone. Thank you.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Solda. Seconded by Councillor Mealy. Seeing no additional comments on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thank you. And item number 10, another report from our Director of Infrastructure Services on the Wallace Sanitary Pump Station repairs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The purpose for this report is to seek council approval to allocate $175,000 towards some urgent repairs at the Wallace Sanitary Pump Station and to amend the financial plan bylaw accordingly. The background behind this request is that this sanitary pump station has a wet well, dry well design, and the pipes that connect the two wet well, dry well have corroded severely and are currently leaking. Staff have made strong efforts to try to patch, to try to repair. However, it's just a fruitless exercise as the pipe has become very corroded. So the request for this funding is to allow us to bypass pump around the station, remove and replace those pipes between the dry well, wet well with stainless piping to restore capacity and to fix the issue. So the recommended financial action is very similar to the last report I just presented, which was to add a new project to the 2025 capital plan and to allocate $175,000 from the Sewer Infrastructure Reserve Fund, with the third line transferring from Water Reserve Fund if needed to repayment in 2028 based around the previous comments. Basically, if this project is approved, it will address immediate safety and environmental concerns and restore full capacity to the lift station. We did look at potentially replacing or upgrading the lift station overall, but obviously that's a much bigger scope and a much larger financial ask. So we are just looking to repair to keep the service level as it is today. So with that, I will happily answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you very much. Questions from council? Seeing none, Councillor Haggard, would you like to read this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move that council amend the City of Port Alberni 2025 to 2029 Financial Plan Bylaw number 5123 2025 as follows. 1, add Capital Plan 2025 Wallace Sanitary Pump Station $175,000. 2, add Sewer Infrastructure Reserve Fund allocation for project $175,000. And 3, transfer Water Infrastructure Reserve Fund $175,000 to Sewer Infrastructure Reserve Fund if required, and return the funds in 2028 with interest forgone.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Haggard, seconded by Councillor Solda. Any discussion? Seeing none, on the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Thank you. And this brings us to question period. This is an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions of council on decisions or recommendations made during the course of the meeting. Up to 3 questions per speaker will be permitted. Would anybody like to ask questions today? Okay, seeing none, would somebody like to move adjournment? Moved by Councillor Mealy, seconded by Councillor Dame. On the motion, all in favor? Carried, none opposed. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.